I know some of you felt that new moon pretty hard, especially as we are still in eclipse season. It has just been one after the other after the other. I am feeling all of your energies from that, definitely the recovering energies. Today's message starts with the energy of what feels like recoiling at the thought of social interactions or gatherings. Today's message is really all about social anxiety and the obligation of performance in certain settings. This is the energy that takes days to recover, while others kind of seem to rebound more quickly from these events. I see you really taking a lot more time and having a smaller threshold. I get either the feeling that you've recently had some sort of huge event or taxing social circumstance you went through, or you might just be recovering from something in general. If it's not that, then you just recently have been gathering some sort of acute awareness for how much these things have impacted you over the years. And there is more resistance at this time. And that's the energy that's being flagged to me as who this message is for. I almost get like a feeling of dread from these circumstances. It is as if your own body here in some way is betraying you, is what you feel like. Like what's being shown to me is dragging a child to an undesirable place that they don't want to go, where they feel something bad is going to happen, or they just have a lot of resistance to it. So in the past, you may have struggled to deal with social invites or gatherings with a lot of people, a lot of energies, or even just small social expectations. They might have felt incredibly overwhelming to you. They might still feel incredibly overwhelming to you. I say this with a contrasting energy, right? Because maybe you're, interestingly enough, starting to notice your quote unquote inability to handle these gatherings because others around you seem to be fine, or they seem to keep scheduling out or having that ability to keep going when you seemingly can't. There's also a note here about hair loss or overall health of the hair. I know that's super specific, but I'm going to leave the details of that in the description for you. And with that, I will always say to check out my descriptions. Obviously, I don't channel like typical tarot readers do, so I need to create a different method here. I know that my descriptions are getting kind of wordier lately, but it might be due to the energies coming through with eclipse season. This method will keep changing, I'm sure, as the energy keeps changing. It's definitely flexible to the energy. But if you're interested in how I got what I got or why I get what I get, be sure to check out the little novels that I write for you in the description. They're always there for you for more details. Damn, I just think who I'm talking to today has healed something recently. You've healed in some way deeply. And you maybe feel you're not as bad as you used to be as I talk about this social anxiety or social dread. I see that here definitely. That, or you're just tired of fighting it altogether. So you just stop dragging the child where the child doesn't want to go, which in itself is healing as well. But there's an unconscious level to this. And I see the connection here where maybe you don't see that point of connection. And I think Spirit wants to highlight that today. I see it being something where maybe you don't pay much attention to this, or you've healed enough to kind of brush it off at this point. But the divine timing here today is that now that you've healed in a certain way, it's time to go deeper into your understanding of why these things happen. The first part of this feels like I'm explaining your aura or your energetic imprint on others. I'm being presented a beautiful, beautiful aura. And I know it's those who I'm talking to today. Like, God, I can see why you struggle maintaining a balanced energy with something this pure. The people I'm speaking to today that resonate with this are energetic transmuters. They transmute and transmit energy. And they're powerful ones at that, whether conscious or not. The spiritual community does a disservice to people like you because it blankets the understanding of energetic protection almost too generally. And it just kind of assumes that everyone needs to protect their energy. And that's not accurate because not everyone has the transmuting and transmitting ability you do. So not everyone is susceptible or vulnerable to taking others' energetic loads. So you're prone to what I can see as exhaustion and severe energy imbalances in a way that others are not. And it might be a recent discovery from you, like maybe not specifically this energy imbalance that I'm talking about and who you are and why, but you're just now recently recognizing the burnout, the exhaustion as real. And you might be reaching deeper limitations in your very current circumstance and questioning why you can't keep up with others in those environments. I can see this might be work, this might be love. I just definitely see you having awareness of it more recently. What is happening here without you recognizing it is you hold a stabilizing frequency that acts as a sponge, a very, very powerful sponge for others. You may not notice it, but you attract or draw in people who are your energetic opposite. You can feel the weight of their chaos in some way, in ways you don't have. And so there's a magnetic pull here. This is not people who are bad or evil or have any malicious intent for you. They just struggle to stabilize their energetic field. And so you act as a plug for them to feel stable in the moments you're around their energy. So that's why they're drawn to you. In other words, when you go out, your energetic surroundings pull in these forces, these people. And then when they're around you, they're able to feel this grounded and stabilized feeling that they can't feel within themselves ever. So it's almost addictive to them. They can't explain why they're attracted to you, why they want to be around you. And I don't ever see this as conscious between either parties, either you or them. But what happens on your end, which is the important part of this message, is you can't control that your field transmutes energy like it does. This is very much healer type of energy. Like you were meant to take things and transform them into power. It is very much a gift, but also a curse for you personally, because the downside is that you're highly susceptible to the energies that are not consciously aware that they're taking or that they're putting their energy onto you to be transformed in a way. I think what Spirit wants to highlight is this, is I don't think that you're consciously aware of the connection point between this social anxiety you have or this fear or this burden or this dread that keeps happening to you over and over again, whether it be before the social gathering or after the social gathering or just a endless cycle of exhaustion. You can't figure out why it happens. But the exhaustion comes from directly that you are this type of force that has a funny conflict to it because you're so likable and others are drawn to you. But at the same time, you cannot be around energies as freely as others can. So I think you maybe have dismissed this truth and have been frustrated in the past at your limits, like your body is recoiling, rejecting the normal social bandwidth. But Spirit wants you to know that this is your gauge system. And this system helps you identify energy you're recycling through at the current time. So because you're so porous to others and you take on their energetic loads, you kind of require more time alone to transmute it. This doesn't mean you're at a disadvantage. It doesn't mean that you're taking and you're a victim. In fact, transmuters like you are actually incredibly powerful and benefiting from taking on the energy of others in some way as well. People like you can take negative circumstances and create power and larger manifestations later in life. So others will go through their life at the same frequency without ever growing, without ever getting manifestations, but you will take every hardship, every pain, every lesson, and you will build a life that's unrecognizable at the end of it. So the upside to this thing that feels like you're a victim, which you're not, is that you can not only handle your shit, but you can take these very difficult things and create power with them. And you cannot, unfortunately, create power from ease or your comfort zone. You very much require negative circumstances and energy. And that's why people who are chaotic or unresolved gravitate towards you, because you can transmute them because they see and they sense that you've transmuted yourself. So the connection point here is this. You feel more drained just in general because you're taking on energies that you can't even see. So the dread you feel that you try to brush off, or the exhaustion that you feel after the fact that you don't connect to those social circumstances, is an important sign that transmuting is underway for you. Think of this as like a status bar. When you're at your limit of what you're working through internally, your body will let you know through this fear and anxiety pull, this dread feeling. So I see some of you may question it occasionally, like you feel maybe you're depressed, or anxiety comes from mental health obstacles that you personally face. But the questioning is confusing to you because I see you don't fully show signs of mental health issues as deeply as maybe others do. It's just these circumstances will create fear or dread for you occasionally. And the reason for that is because this isn't connected to mental health issues. This isn't, pure anxiety. This isn't pure depression. This is more metaphysical and is a response gauge from how much you're undergoing in your transmutation process. When you're at capacity, you can no longer handle absorbing more. So putting yourself in social settings again and again and forcing that and continuing to go back is actually quite negative for people like you to push through. The body wants cycles between transmutation periods and rest and recovery. And it will tell you when it's out of those cycles of transmuting and able to be around energies. And you just have to kind of listen. It seems Spirit wants you to know today that this exhaustion that you're feeling, this drained feeling that's reoccurring, is doing something important. It has a purpose. Because the spiritual communities spread misinformation, they unintentionally disarm you in a way that Spirit wants to highlight here. It does two things. The spiritual community, number one, blankets energy protection. So it doesn't specify why certain people, like healers like yourself, need to protect themselves. And it instead assumes everyone needs to protect themselves. It also doesn't explain what the repercussions are. But the most dangerous part of the spiritual community, and kind of like this darker side of it for people like you, is as it downplays and generalizes energetic protection, it also disarms you in a way, because highly spiritual people, or people that present themselves as aware or enlightened, are actually the least safe for you. So what happens is energetic transmuters like yourself are already porous. They're already susceptible because they heal and they transmute energy. They think everyone needs to protect themselves, so they don't pay special attention to their own energetic needs. But the people in the spiritual community that come across as the most enlightened and the most aware are typically the ones that dump the most energy on these types of archetypes like yourself. And it's dangerous because since it's misunderstood, it's overgeneralized, it's also not conscious in the sense where these transmuters pay attention to how they feel after being around certain energies. They just brush off their exhaustion as their own problem, their own disadvantage in some way. So regardless of how spiritually enlightened someone seems, this is purely an energetic transaction. And it's dangerous because since it's so highly misunderstood and overgeneralized in our spiritual communities, these types of archetypes, these transmuters, these powerful healers don't pay attention to themselves in enough detail and are disarmed by these spiritual archetypes that dump on them. So there's a very important note here from Spirit to pay attention to the dark side of spiritual, I guess we'll call them archetypes, but they are the types that disarm you the most, gain your trust, and then dump the most on you in an energetic way that overloads your system. I see some of you trying to fight the exhaustion and others kind of accepting the exhaustion and isolating as needed. For those fully accepting the isolation, there's a message here to know it comes in waves of healing, this is to maybe reconsider when a wave of transmutation is happening for you. You maybe assume that you're backsliding in some way, or it's some sort of mental health spiral. I can kind of see that clearly here. But there's a huge emphasis from Spirit that for both ends of the spectrum, those who accept it and those who don't, to know that these periods of inner transmutation where you are just fully exhausted and you are dreading every interaction that pops up, they're not indicators that something's wrong or something negative is happening at all. It's actually that something is working and that a process is going on underway. I think Spirit is giving the real reason here and laying this all out for you, because by not fighting these periods of exhaustion and not assuming that it's some sort of mental health backslide that you're working through, you can reach a place where these cycles actually speed up and you metabolize the power that you kind of are given from others. Because what's happening for some that fight this is you're delaying that the energy needs to be fully transmitted and transmuted within you by exposing yourself or forcing yourself to go out and keep absorbing these energies. You're risking delaying this process. So I think Spirit's message here is to listen to this more intuitively and to remember how porous you are as not a bad thing. It's not that you're a victim or need to protect yourself necessarily. It's that this energy is working to heal you. In fact, taking other people's energy is actually a power. It's actually an advantage to you in a way, as nothing is individual in the energetic realm. You're not just going around healing and giving to others endlessly. It also gives to you. Everything is connected. So that's an important other note to this, is like, don't take this as a disadvantage. This is actually your power to take these bad things and create power from them. I guess the message here is to pay attention to the dread, the anxiety, and these instincts you have, because your body is highly intelligent. The message today is to not assume that it's anxiousness or it comes from a mental space only, and to look at it in a physical and metaphysical way. When you really give the space that these feelings are primal and instinctual protection mechanisms, the mental stimulation that you feel, the anxiety that you feel will fade faster, because it doesn't start as mental energy. It actually starts as metaphysical. And the mental noise that you're feeling is kind of like the secondary protection. The body kind of gets your attention through this mental space, through giving anxiety, overthinking, and feeling that dread to stop you from going out and being more porous. It's not because you're dealing with some sort of issue. It's that it's just trying to get your attention. That might seem so simplistic, but I think the people I'm talking to today might overcomplicate it and over assume that it's some sort of complicated issue. So really, the message today is you're not a victim because you have this power to transmute. It's not a health issue. It's not a mental issue. And I think Spirit really wants you to see clearly today. That might be something that's hard for you to recognize that you're doing. But when you go through these cycles of overwhelm, exhaustion, if you could maybe look at it through the lens of, I'm actually getting more powerful in these cycles, then I think that there's a potential that these cycles could go faster and not be as delayed. I just really see the message today being to take as much time as you need to process your backlog of all this transmutation you have underway without judgment, and do it without thinking something's wrong or that you're a victim to energies. Do it in a way where you're looking at yourself like, I am powerful and I'm getting more powerful by the moment. This last part is maybe a confirmation to those who already instinctively know to do this, but keep leaving comments. The comments themselves do not have to be anything personal about you. Think of these as energetic nudges. This helps me align to your energy more efficiently and be able to channel for you. And I want to be able to do that. I read each and every one, always. None are missed. None are ignored. I am so thankful for each and every one of you and love you all. So cheers, friends.